Hello, everybody, and welcome to Paranormal Nation Radio, Not So Normal. How's Denise and Ron doing this evening?
Doing good. How you doing?
Wore out and tired.
From what?
Out in this heat today, putting in our food plots for the deer.
So you're baiting the deer.
No, we're giving them food for the winter. They just happen to eat it during our deer season.
So they're going to fill up their cheeks like chipmunks and then take it and spit it out somewhere else, right?
Right. No, we do this. It's legal here in Missouri, and you do it every year. They get, everything from radishes, turnips, oats, corn. We give them everything. So, and doing that out there when it's 103 and dry as a bone, praying that rain comes in so it'll grow. But it was dusty and dirt. An hour ago, I probably had a half-inch of dust and dirt on top of me.
Well, you do all that for the deer. I mean, the least they can do during hunting season is to stand there so you can shoot them in the head. Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Just part of it and everything. But, deer hunting is one thing, but seeing the deer and the beauty of the deer, there's a lot of them we let go and everything. Just watch them for a while. They're too small. We let them grow and everything. Yeah. But other than that,
we can't put food out.
It's just hot.
Yeah, we can't put food outside. Possible bears, they tell us.
Oh, yeah, you're bears. And now I put a problem on our deck with the raccoons. Started last night.
Susan and Mike.
They're going to learn real quick. The back porch isn't theirs.
Oh, yeah. So, well, tonight I got us a great guest. And I'll tell you, I've interviewed Cindy a couple times, at least a couple. I can't even remember how many. I found her on a haunting, I believe, years ago. And she had been possessed. So she actually wrote a book about it. So you guys, I want you to hear about it because, it's an amazing story, first off. Second of all, it was a really good book. I really enjoyed reading it. And the story that they told on a haunting wasn't all right, but it's always the case when you sign on the dotted line, they make it theirs. Right. But Cindy's always been so gracious to come on and talk about it because, that's a hard time in somebody's life to, first off, to be possessed, and second of all, to admit that it happened.
Right.
So,
hello, Tom.
So I'd like to welcome Cindy Sauer to the show.
Hi.
Hello, Cindy.
Hello. Hi. It's good to see you again.
And your book was, what was it called again?
It was called The Exorcism of Cindy Sauer.
That's what I thought it was. I didn't want to misstate it.
Yeah, that's what it is. And I think the show was the same thing, I believe. So I wanted to tie the two together. And you are right. The book does go more in depth, and they always have to kind of take their stories and condense them and put them in, into a sequence. So they need them to make sense to the viewer. And, that's what they do. And that's okay. You can't fault them for that. It's television. So, but it did give me an opportunity to be able to talk about it though.
How did you know that you were possessed?
Well, at first we thought it was a fluke. We thought it was a fluke, just an attack. And I've talked about it before. Jason, the person that I was friends with at the time. He and I had gone to a house. And there's a backstory to it, of course, but and I can get in depth more. But essentially, from going to that place, leaving it, something I thought had become attached to me at the place, and we left it, and there was an attack, and I thought, okay, this was a fluke, this was crazy, something attacked me, and it's very scarring. It was horrible. I mean, it was hard to make sense of and hard to kind of reconcile that in itself. But then it was weeks later when I suffered an attack at my house. And I say attacks, but to me, that's what they were. That's the best way I can, I guess, explain it to people. But it's essentially when these things kind of take over you and have some sort of control over your mind and your body. And it was not until I think maybe it was Halloween that the year that it started happening, which was several months in, is when I realized I think this is a possession. I think that this is actually like, and that's a really, really hard thing to come to a conclusion to, after so long of things happening. And mind you, at this time, I'm a single mother. My husband has only been dead maybe a little over a year, and all this stuff is happening. And then I have this guy here who's a pastor, who's saying, okay, well, I think this might be demons too. So it was weird. And to kind of reconcile that was hard enough. But then to say, okay, well, what am I going to do about this? Like, what am I going to do? Where do you go? As much as I had dabbled in paranormal things and done some ghost hunting and all that myself, I had never really had to deal with anything like that. I mean, who does? And you don't ever want to think it's true, but I actually had an experience where I was in the bathroom looking in the mirror and watching this happen to me. And it's like I wasn't looking into my eyes. I was looking into I was looking at this thing. And that's when I knew I had to do something. That was probably one of the things that stands out most to me about the entire experience was that one. That was pretty pivotal. So yeah, that was probably the moment when I knew for sure.
Before that, did you believe that there was a possibility of people being possessed? Did you think it was just something you saw in movies?
You know what? I didn't give it much credence. I really didn't think about it very much. I was one of those people that, the paranormal, I'm going to focus on just the positive part of it, because that part honestly terrorized me. The idea of it was terrifying. I didn't study it. I knew that there were lists of like demon name. I knew all that stuff. I knew that people said they came into contact with these things, but I brushed it off. I remember being 13 and watching the movie The Exorcist, and it terrified me for weeks. I was like, I couldn't deal. Like, it was really terrible. So that was like, you never think that's going to happen. I didn't necessarily not believe in it, but I just kind of stayed away from it. So thinking that it just happened to people, no. You never think, okay, this could happen to me, or this is going to happen. I didn't think. I just didn't think it could. I really didn't.
Did you not? Well, I guess since then, when you go on paranormal investigations, do you protect yourself some way?
When I did, do investigations. There are things I really did have to do and I had to be more mindful of. You know, and I still do. I haven't done any investigating in quite a while. Life has been, yeah, it's been a little taxing lately. But when I went to a convention a couple of years ago, several years ago actually. Well, not several, maybe I don't know, maybe 6 years ago or so. I was in the middle of a Q&A, and I shouldn't even talk about it, honestly, but I don't really care anymore. I was in the middle of a Q&A at this place, and it was in Pennsylvania, and I suffered an attack because there was someone on the panel who was touting about demons, and they were making a big deal and acting like they were some know-it-all, and it hit me like a ton of bricks in front of around 200 people, and everybody ran, and the whole thing stopped and ended right there. That was it. So yes, I have to protect myself, because if I don't, things like that would happen if I didn't do that. So I think that's one of the reasons why I have kind of bowed out as far as paranormal investigating and things goes lately. It's been a couple of years. So right now, yeah, I kind of have stayed away from it. So yeah, and there are extra things I have to do. And there are people that tell me I shouldn't do it at all. So it's not safe. It's not as safe for me as it would be for a regular person. And I do pick up on, as a result, I think, of the things that happen, I'm a lot more sensitive. And I do pick up on things a lot. Good and bad, but really in particular, bad things. I do pick up on things a lot. And it can be overwhelming at times, because it can affect you on a daily basis sometimes. But energy is a big thing, and I have to really be careful and mindful. And there are things I have to do, regularly. So yeah, it's not the same as it was before, definitely.
It seems like once you are possessed, that it leaves, no matter how often or whether you get cleared or not, you're going to have residual stuff all the time after that. Kind of like having a collapsed lung, and then you always feel like you've got something in your lungs after that.
Yeah, you do. And it's something that you have to, like, most people don't have to worry about it, and I have to worry that, like, what if this happens again? As much as I do my due diligence, everybody has a weak moment in life. Everybody has moments where they grieve, or they're not mentally strong, or emotionally as strong as they need to be. And I mean, what do? You can have faith, and you just pray and do the things that you know that you should do, but it's tough. Sometimes it's scary. It can be scary, because you don't ever want it to happen again. And I think it took a few years for that trauma to kind of catch up with me, if that makes any sense.
Do you have PTSD from this?
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah.
Because our question is from Tom McNicholas. Carl, my hands are busy. I can't get it.
That's all right. I got
Do
it.
you feel that you're 100% released, or do you feel it recurring is a possibility? And from what you just said, you feel that recurring is a possibility.
Well, see, I think there are a lot of people that don't know that I have more than one exorcism. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, what's the right number?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. it's the possibility, I suppose, is there. But then again, I mean, who knows? Because where do you go to find the answers? Because
Bob
I've
Burnell asks if you're religious.
yes, yeah, yes, I am. That's the only thing that's gotten me to where I'm at.
Were you before?
Yes, I have been I have been my whole life. I mean, I'm not, I'm not the go to church every Sunday kind of person, and on and off, I have been through my life. It's been definitely a foundation for me. It's something that I can't do. Maybe like going to churches and things. I don't know. It's scary. I don't know that I want to try to go into a church because I've had bad experiences trying to do that. So yeah, it has affected that as well. But yeah, I am religious and I do pray, and religious symbols do mean a lot to me. And it's something that is important to me as well. So yeah, definitely.
Good.
Has, from you being possessed and exorcised, do your children understand what happened to you?
They do. They do. They're all old enough at this point that, some of them did experience things, and they're adults. But the ones who are not quite adults yet, or not, they understand it too. Of course, it's hard to hide that when it's, comes on the television and the book is out, and so yeah, they do know about it and they're understanding about it. I guess as best that they can, but yeah, they do know. I'm open with them about it. So
Are they religious because of this?
they, and I kind of let them make their own decisions on things. And I give them the foundations that they need for it. I don't discuss it in depth with them. It's something that they know, but it's not something that's a prevalent part of their life. It's like a very minuscule, tiny little part of their lives, because it's not something that I have steeped them in. It's something I kept them away from as much as I possibly could, because, of course you're going to do that. And that's really my prevailing motive for continuing to just push through and be as strong as I can be, as my children, and keeping them protected, which has been a huge part of the whole thing for me.
Yeah. Bob Burnell asks another question, and he asks if you're baptized. I'm going to tell you, I'm not. I've never have been, and strange things happen to me all the time. Were you baptized?
The priest asked me that too when the whole thing was going on, and yes, yeah. So that throws that out the window.
Yeah, it does. Because like I said, things happen to me all the time that we can't explain, and I always figure, well, maybe it's because I was never baptized. That I never went through the ritual of baptism.
Yeah, I did.
Not that I'm not religious, because
yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm not deeply religious, but I believe in God and I pray.
Right. And that's what I'm. Yes. And yeah, I was baptized. There are things that don't make sense. It's like, wait, that's not supposed to happen, but it did. And that's like, there are a lot of whys. Like I still like, why? Like I don't understand still. Just, it doesn't make sense to me still. Why? And I could unpack the heck out of it, but who,
Had you had any issues or problems, any other investigations before that?
No.
Nothing.
It was just out of the blue.
So Where you picked the attachment up at? Where you said it was a house, residential house, or
It was okay. This is interesting too. Okay, so the house is in a town called Covington, Georgia, and it was actually, I found out like 8 years later that it is well, maybe not that long. That it was a house that they filmed Vampire Diaries in or something.
Oh, okay.
huh.
So it was right before they filmed that this house was an old dilapidated house, and it was a mansion built by this family who owned a car business and were big in the town. And I actually got in touch with the people who built the house, the family who had lived in it and rented it. And there was a lot of activity in this house. This house had a pretty shady past, and I didn't know it. I just was drawn to it. But it was that house that the first attack happened. But the thing was, I was experiencing things well before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the experiences were happening before, but that is the first time that happened. I don't think that it was so much that I picked something up there. Is what happened was that whatever was, how can I put that? If one of them knows you, they all know you.
Mm.
That's all I can say. Like if and there was something bigger than that thing that night, something that was in control, that was more than that. I don't, it's hard to explain it. People say hierarchy or whatever, but there's one that's in charge and the other ones have to do what it says. And there are different degrees of these things as far as their power and what they do. And there are some that are like little animals, almost like imps or little things, and then there are some that are big, huge, powerful things. And then I've seen a lot of different things. Yeah. So
Believe me, we understand. I explained to these guys what an imp was once, and they got to see it firsthand. And
Yeah, you explained it after.
no, well, you guys saw it. You didn't
Yeah,
tell
we
me.
saw it. We didn't know what it was.
We saw it and explained to her what we seen, and she goes, "Oh, those are those imps I see all the time down
Yeah,
in
that's
that
what I
basement."
see all the time. I'm like, okay.
yeah, they're nasty little too.
Yeah.
Well, like I told them, I said, when I
Yeah.
first see them, they're
It
skinny
was in the basement.
and
Yeah.
scrawny.
Sally.
And then by the time we would leave, they would be fat and, kind
That was
of
all the people going through the house. being
drooling
investigated.
and all this. Yeah.
They
And,
love it. Love it. They
Yeah.
feed off. They're like little,
Oh, yeah.
definitely.
feed off the attention.
I've
And
seen that in churches. Like I've seen them in churches. And I'm not picking on churches, but these big mega churches, I was forced to go into a couple of them by someone. And these things were standing, going down the aisles. They were standing, like big ones, tall, 10, 12-foot ones standing there, like immersed in all of the music and all the tongues and all that stuff. They were just in and it's
waiting for people to let their mind go and go
Well,
somewhere else, and they jump in.
Yeah, and that church was not. These people that think they're going in, they're not. It's not what they think it is, and these things are just there. Like there's, It's really frustrating that people don't take it seriously, but there's not really much you can't. I don't want to convince anyone. I'm not I don't, through all of this, I'm not trying to convince someone that, hey, this is real. But
Right.
man,
Well, you're always going to have skeptics on everything. It doesn't matter. There's going to be somebody out there that doesn't believe, that doesn't believe, period. They don't believe in anything. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in ghosts. They don't believe, I mean, they want to fight about everything. So there's just those people out there.
yeah.
So
Yes, there are.
Bob asks, he says, first, he's sorry for all the questions, but do you wear a cross? And can you hold a Bible and not feel uncomfortable?
That's funny. And I don't know if you remember that I always have something with me when I do these things. Hang on. Sorry for the shaking. Give me 2 seconds. So,
yep.
I have this with me right now. I always have something with me. And I can touch things. I no religious symbols do not bother me, which is great right now.
That's perfect.
So, yeah.
That's good.
There were times when it was very, very, I would not even go near them. And in fact, if anyone around me had them on, no, they were not allowed around me. Like, get the hell away from me. So there is an aversion to it. It's not, a lot of times it's not like what you see on TV where, you know, you like hot, it's going to burn me kind of thing. It's a definitely a physical aversion for the person. And even with the holy water thing, because I'm pretty sure that during the exorcism, and it's spotty for me because I know there are things I don't remember, but during the exorcism, I think they tried to fool me with the holy water I remember, but it didn't work. Or I don't remember. But I know something like that happened during it. So yeah, the religious symbols can be an issue if things are not good. So.
How long were you possessed before you had your first exorcism?
The first time it was probably about 3 months. It was, let's see, September to October, about 3 months. And the second time was a longer period, and it was from spring till after Thanksgiving. So the second time was pretty drawn out.
So 3 months and 6 months, so multiples of 3.
Yeah.
And during those 3 months that you was possessed, what did your friends and family that was around you all the time think? Did it show out as being possessed or what?
There were not very many people around me at the time, but yes, it did show as possessed. And it wasn't not funny. It's not funny. The interesting thing about it was it wasn't just me inside of me and things. It was external factors. There were external things happening, like things opening and shutting by themselves right in front of you. Religious symbols breaking, Bibles flying across the room, apparitions, things, shadows. I mean, yeah, being touched. Yeah, it definitely. It was not. It was the whole gambit. Hearing things. It was visual. It was odd. It was auditory. It was everything. So yeah.
Did your facial features change in front of people, or just in the mirror for you?
No, other people too.
And Susan asks, was it difficult for you to get someone to perform the exorcism?
You know what? God put me with the right people. There was a paranormal team, and I'd never even talked to an established team before. But there was a paranormal team who was not too far from me that I found online. And I was looking, and they were reputable, and I did know that I was looking for, someone reputable. They were a TAPS member at the time. So it took a lot to call them. It took a lot to call them. I fought myself to call these people. I really fought, and they like I think I left a message, or I left a message, and they called me back really quickly. And when they did, they really wanted to set up a time to come and to just do a preliminary. And
Right.
and it's, oh man, that took a lot. That was hairy. Um, wow, that was rough. Leading up to that was pretty rough. And then I did not want to be there. I got very sick. I got physically sick. I did not want them to come. I was not there when they came to my house. But I fought myself, and I got back there, and I did it. And literally all hell broke loose. And it happened right in front of them. Like right in front of them. And it was then that, because I think I tried to attack people. I don't remember. I don't. But then the priest was there pretty. After that, he was there pretty quickly, within a couple weeks. They didn't say it was. I was thinking about this, the other day. They did not say that, oh, we're coming to perform an exorcism. It was just, well, we want you to meet with Father Simpson. But I knew they knew what it was.
Yeah.
And
They wanted to take it by surprise, not you, it.
I know, and they didn't. That they didn't. Because anything I know, they know. Anything I knew, they knew. Didn't matter. They couldn't. Like, that's what the thing is, that you can't hide things from them. If you know those things, they know those things. And
Right.
They tried to do it where it was a surprise, but I knew already, and they knew already, and the days before, and the day of, I did not want to do it. I did not want to do it.
No, I bet you didn't. I mean, at least in your mind, whatever was in there controlling you didn't want you to do it.
It was telling me it didn't. Like, they were fighting. Yeah, picking out the clothes you're supposed to wear for your exorcism is just screwed up. And I remember having to do that, and it just, like, yeah, it only got worse, like, from there. Before the priest even got there. I mean, it was rough. It's not this thing was not weak.
Who was all there when they did the exorcism?
I don't know. There were a lot of people. I don't know. The priest, and there were people from the paranormal team, and there were other people. They were holding me down.
Mm-hmm.
They were men holding me down, and I remember I was moving furniture, and hurting myself. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, there were men holding me. I remember men holding me down.
Do you think the catalyst for your possession might have been the fact that your husband passed, you were
That's what I was
weak?
thinking.
I don't know. I don't know.
Or just worn out.
I think that maybe that might have been a factor for sure. I think that that's probably, it may be like the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. But anybody that anybody that has read the book, or if you do read the book, there's a lot of history in it, because I do try to start from the beginning. So there are other factors that I want to think are that tie into it as well, but that was definitely, I think, a catalyst for sure. How could it not be? I mean, he shot himself in our bedroom, and I lived in the house. You know,
Is it possible that this thing possessed him first?
I don't think that it possessed him first, but I think that there was definitely influence going on. I do not think he was possessed. There was influence for sure.
So maybe oppressed as opposed to possessed.
I think that there was an oppression type thing. I don't think that had anything to do with what, well, let me rephrase that. I don't think that what happened with him transferred to me, is what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't think it's that simple.
But like you said, though, they all know each other. If one knows you, they all know you.
Yep, they do. And whether they, I don't know, you know, did they use that as a whole way to like gain entry or whatever the heck it is? I don't know. I hate to think that that would be the case, but it's definitely something that I have visited, you know, in my thoughts for sure. I mean, you know, anybody would, but I don't know.
I know there's so many things. I mean, this topic alone has, it's mostly questions and really not very many answers.
Unfortunately. Like, unfortunately.
In fear, that it seems to go after them when they're
weak.
Yeah, at their lowest point.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's
definitely.
A friend of mine and everybody here on the show, Farrah Deal, now Farrah Perry, her and her husband in the past would have said, if there's any weakness, that it will find it and it will just bury into that.
Absolutely.
Into that,
and
just keep on going. And
they just root in it. They do. They will definitely, they exploit it. Definitely. Yeah, they do.
It's like the armadillo in the backyard digging in a hole. It just keeps on going until it gets in there. So it's sad. So on the subject of possession, do you feel that you said earlier that you have had more than one exorcism?
Mm-hmm.
How many exorcisms do you know you had, and did you possibly have more you don't know about?
I've only had 2. I've had people pray over me and slap me in the face with the Bible. You know, but only 2 sanctioned exorcisms and no more than that. But yeah, that's, I mean, and where should you have another exorcism is the big question, I guess. And people probably are like, should I? I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope I don't. I hope I don't need one. And I hope
it's very taxing.
It's bad. And I don't ever want to have to do it again. But, I mean, what if I do? That's, I can't. I want to be the optimistic person. I want to be positive and that's never going to happen again. And, I've got this. And
but you can't live in la la land with blinders on.
No,
because if you do, then you're open again.
Exactly. And it's just a strange thing. I don't know. It's a strange thing because there are a lot of people who say they know about it, but there are very few who really know about it.
That's true.
Yep.
I mean, people, until you experience it, either from the exorcist side or the exorcism side, being exorcised, you don't know what you're talking about.
No, and I'm glad people don't. Like, I'm very glad people don't. I don't ever want people to know what it's like. No, it's that no, that I wouldn't wish it on anybody ever, ever. Just because now, see, being having having the time pass and being removed from the beginning of it, so for this amount of years, it doesn't just become one of those things that's like, oh yeah, that's something that just happened to me in the past, and it doesn't. It's not one of those things. It's one of those things that is always there.
It always feels like yesterday, not
It does.
years ago.
And it does. And like just the not knowing, and the not knowing, like, it's whether it will happen again or not. I don't ever, like, no one would want that to happen in the first place.
No,
But
it's not even something you would wish on your worst enemy.
no, and it's not something that most people even, so I don't think that the general population goes around wondering what it's like, to have that, to go through it. Like, you don't ever sit and think, I wonder what it's like to go through an exorcism. Like, I wonder what it's like to be possessed. That's not something that happens. You don't do that. So,
No, I believe if you do that, you're asking for it.
Well, yeah, but if you're if you're looking for it like that, it's way too easy. That you're way too easy. Like, there needs to be a certain level of unrest and chaos for them to feed off of. So if you're like a willing participant, there's not really much chaos in that. So it's kind of boring, like, they need that energy from the resistance and from the trauma of the chaos that's caused. Like, that's part of it. And if they're not, I mean, they can scare anybody, but if they're caught, they have to take what's good and make it not, like, that's what they want to do. So, and I think that that's part of it is, people are like, well, all these devil worshippers and all this, but the the fact of the matter is that the reason that they would need to find something good to sacrifice is because they're not. And these things need that good thing to tarnish. They need that good thing to destroy. So, people who seek it out, I don't know if they're in that mindset.
So which came first, a haunting or the book?
A haunting came first.
And Tom McNicholas asks, how do you feel about the way your story was portrayed on A Haunting?
I have no problem with it. I really don't. I was okay with it. I think that they did, they did what they needed to do for the TV show, and no, they were good. They were really great, actually. The people who interviewed me for it were amazing. They were good people, and actually, during the recording, which was a couple of days, I actually got attacked while they were doing the interview, and they did get it on video. But they scrubbed it. They were really. It was overwhelming. It did all the the studio lights that they had. It busted all of them. Like, it happened. Everything busted. But they were super really cool about it. And so I have no problem at all with how they did it. I don't.
So they didn't send you a bill for the lights?
No, they didn't. No,
oh,
they were
goodness.
I felt really bad. I felt terrible, and I know it was, that's not something that they wanted to happen. Not with they were cool about that altogether, but they were really sympathetic toward it. And the funny thing is, it happened right when the priest pulled up outside. our interviews weren't supposed to overlap. We were supposed to be kept separate.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, mine ran over because of all the technical problems we were having that these things were causing. So it ran over, and he pulled in, and that's when all this stuff happened. And yeah, so go figure. You know,
You know, it happens.
what
What,
happened?
so what area of the country did you live when all this happened to you?
I lived about an hour outside of Atlanta to the east, in a town called Social Circle when it really started happening. So that's where I was at that time.
There's still so many questions.
I know.
Well, there is, because again, like we just said a little bit ago, never being part of an exorcism or being exorcised,
Yeah,
there's so many questions we would have that we
Well,
don't
yeah.
know. We don't know about.
Well, it's a perspective that's not, it's not available really very often, I would think.
Because you're probably 1% of 1% of people that go through this, even
Yeah.
possibly less.
I know, and that's weird that's very hard to wrap your mind around. It's that's one of the hardest parts because it's kind of isolating, It's isolating, strange. And then I mean you really can't speak to people about it. You can't. I mean, come on. What do you say? What do you say?
Yeah. They're going to think you're afraid they're going to think you're nuts.
Yeah, I can't even speak about this in therapy, and that I can't. I just can't. So, what do I do? If you can't even, I can't even bring this up to my therapist. I mean, yeah,
That's not good.
No, it's not.
So, Gary, our paranormal pastor, he says, do you recognize when other people are under the control of a spirit?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Do they give off a different aura, or is it something in their eyes?
I don't know what it is. I can feel it. I can feel it. Yeah. No, definitely. It's
Walmart is a no.
Yeah, I have a lot of, yes, it is a no. Look, I have things I have to do when I go into stores. Like I have to safeguard. I do. Yeah, it's weird. Walmart's bad.
Yeah, people think I kid about it, but it's true. Walmart is sometimes the worst place to go when you
Walmart in
can
church.
see and hear spirits. Yeah.
Walmart in church. Like, yeah, it's true. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I can tell. Some people more so than others, and some are just yeah. And places too. There are places I like. If I go somewhere, I'm like, I'll turn around and go right back out. I'm not going to be here. I just can't do it. Yeah. No.
I want to say hi to Liz and Bob. We're not ignoring you guys. And hey,
No.
Tom, Susan, everybody out there, thank you so much for listening. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask them. As you can see, we are asking them, maybe not as fast as you put them in there, but we will ask them, I promise. So
yeah, Pastor Gary, he's actually had to do an exorcism.
Oh, God bless you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Susan, we're hearing that noise.
It's probably my fan.
It could be.
It's Carl's fan.
Is it a rotating one?
I hope no crazy. Well, here we go. Here, you can probably hear this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Oh yeah. Wait. It's not a.
Oh, that's right. You're probably getting the rain that went through here just a little while ago.
It's really bad. This is dropped down from Tennessee actually, and this is rough. Like this storms, but it's okay.
We got like 9 or 10 different storms yesterday.
We did all day.
Yeah.
And I mean, ours it would go.
Hour.
It looked like bright and sunny like it is now, and then suddenly But I mean, you're from this area, so you know that it's tropical. It's what it does.
Yeah, it is. I love it. I wouldn't change it. It's good.
Yeah. So we talked before the show. You said you were talking about some haunted locations, and we're gonna lighten this up a little because that all that other stuff was as amazing as it is. It's still, we can hear in your voice that it still is hard for you to talk about. So we're going to talk about something else for a little bit. So you were talking before the show about some of the haunted stuff in Savannah. And what are some of your places in Savannah?
Okay. These are the places that I'm telling you are the best. And I know that people say, oh, this place is haunted and that. It's not as haunted as you think. Let me rephrase that. The places that they say are haunted is not as haunted as you think. Let's say that.
Okay.
But there are places that are great. 432 Abercorn Street. So you have to remember that 432 Abercorn. Now, I'm not sure that you can get into it, but you need to go to it because it has there's something going on in it. Now, it's not what they say. They're going to tell you that like there was devil worship and a man killed his daughter because she was playing with the less fortunate children and he tied her to a chair and she died of exposure and all that crap. And it's not true. But there's something there. There's some man there. I know there's a man there, but that place is creepy. If you go to I think it's the Marshall Inn. It's a place to stay. It is beautiful. It is very haunted. It was a Civil War hospital at one time. That is a great place. Let's see. There's one with a guy, and I'll think of the name of it. But it's a location where a lady jumped off the balcony. Oh, what is it? I'll have to think of it. And it'll come to me, but it's a house that you can tour. They do ghost tours there. But the wife found the husband having an affair with the maid, and she jumped off. It starts with a W too. I'll remember it.
I've heard that. I remember that story.
The wife jumped off the balcony on the back and killed. Well, they're going to tell you stories about that are not true. But I will tell you one thing: the man that had that house, that built it, he was raping his slave girl, and the wife walked in on him raping her. And when the wife found out, she didn't jump from the balcony. They fought on the balcony, and I saw this happen. He pushed her off, and she died. And then the maid saw it. So 2 days later, he went up and hung the maid, made it like she hung herself, but he did it. And you're going to get all sorts of activity in there because those women, they haunted that man until he left that place, and he built the house next door to it. And he lived in that house for the rest of his life instead of the house there. And what they're going to tell you is the woman was all sad and she jumped because she saw them having an affair, and that's not what happened. So I got a big psychic thing happen when I went there one time for a tour, and that's what really happened. And I'll remember the name.
What about the Moon River Brewery? Is it as haunted as they say?
No, it's not.
It's good to know. Do they have good food?
There's a lot to pick from there.
Oh, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
We lost you.
I heard a boom.
She's froze now. Oh, there she is.
We still can't hear you, sweetheart. The Sorrel Weed House. Yeah, that's probably it.
She's got to unmute herself. She's muted. You at the bottom of the screen, hit the unmute button.
You're muted. Unmute.
Unmute. Nope.
Can she see that?
Can't hear you. Oh. Well, Cindy will be back in a moment.
Yeah.
And so I think Susan said it was the Sorrel Weed House. I've heard of that.
Yeah,
one.
I've heard of that one. I was gonna say that story. It sounds familiar.
I'm back yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Maybe I don't know if it's the weather. I don't know if it's what's going on.
It's probably the weather.
It's probably the weather, and
We've got
what?
severe weather.
Maybe we should let you go so you can get someplace safe.
I think maybe that might be a good idea because it does look like we may be under a tornado watch.
Ooh.
So we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming on and educating us. And the name of that
Thank
house
you.
that you were looking for was the Weed House.
Would you like for me to come?
Or
Yes, that's
we-
Sorrel Weed. Yeah. Would you like for me to come back again? Because I could.
Yes, I will send you.
Yeah,
I'll
we'll
send
get
you a
you
thing
back
and we'll
on.
get you scheduled.
Okay. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you
Well,
for
thank
coming
you.
on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And be
There's
safe. And we'll
hail.
talk.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go
Yeah.
inside. We're getting hail.
Bye.
All right.
Talk
Oh
to you
yeah,
later.
get going.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Cindy.
See ya.
There. I helped her out.
Man, yeah, I could hear. I
I-
could hear the hail.
I kicked her out of the studio so she could go.
Yeah, they had
So.
tornadoes not too far. Was it Murfreesboro,
Yeah. In Tennessee.
Tennessee? Yeah.
So
Right.
I hope you guys enjoyed Cindy's story, or at least got a tale of how bad it can be. I mean, I could hear her getting really emotional during
I could too.
During
Her
her talk.
voice was changing.
Yeah, like I said, I met her years ago, and you know what? It's great. We'll possibly get to meet her now that she's on the way to South Carolina for us. And like I said, she was born just down the road,
Right.
so she knows right where we are.
Good.
So,
That way you can talk to her personally and learn a little bit more. Now, how long ago did this happen? I never did hear how long ago this happened.
for some reason, I believe it was in like 2012.
Yeah, I was wanting to say about 10, 12 years ago.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
And
I
yeah,
met
about
her.
12.
I
She
met
had
her in
multiple- She had
2016.
multiple exorcisms. I wonder if they was all done by the same priest.
Most likely.
Don't know.
I'd like to hear his story of the encounter.
Well, I can find out who, when I talk to her next time, ask her if he would be willing to come on, but not with her.
Or to get
Right.
Gary on. Gary could talk about his.
Yeah.
So, well,
But
this will at least
Not
give you
that
some
good.
time to have some dinner before the next show, Carl.
yeah. Yeah, it does.
So,
So,
well, then let's go ahead and cut this short so you can get some rest and get yourself fueled up for the next show. So I hope everybody will join us next Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Central with whoever it is that we get to grill and ask questions to.
right.
And join me every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central for the Paranormal Pride. And tell them where they can find us, Gary, Carl.
They can
Gary.
find us on the Bill of Rights Network on Facebook. You can also find us on the Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment Facebook page, and also on Things Network Facebook page. And you can find us on Born TV on Rumble. So those are the major locations where you can find all these shows at.
And if you're looking on YouTube, you can look for at least this show and my show on the Paranormal Pride's YouTube page.
Right. So we want to thank everybody in the chat room, especially our new listeners coming in. You know somebody we did not see in the chat room tonight? Nigel didn't show up.
Yes, Nigel. I hope he's okay.
I hope he is too, because usually he's right in
First
before the
thing.
first 3 seconds of the show.
Yeah.
Maybe he was tired tonight.
Could be. Could be.
So, Nigel, just
But-
know that we did notice you weren't here. But thank you for listening if you heard this.
Right. So, everybody have a good evening, and we'll see you next week here on Paranormal Nation Radio Not So Normal. Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Right.